The day the people rose. The streets of Paris were hungry. Bread was scarce. Winter had been cruel. Taxes pressed down on those who had the least, while palaces glittered with excess. For generations, this had been the way of things. Kings ruled by birth. Nobles lived above the law. The people endured. But something had changed. Ideas once whispered in cafes and written in forbidden books were now spoken aloud. Liberty, equality, rights. The words of philosophers had traveled from pages into minds, and from minds into anger. France stood at the edge. In 1789, King Louis XVI still sat on his throne, crowned by tradition and guarded by soldiers. Yet his power was hollow. The nation was drowning in debt. The people were starving, and the belief that authority came from God alone was beginning to crumble. On July 14th, the crowd moved. They marched toward the Bastille, a grim fortress that loomed over Paris. It held few prisoners, but it held something far more powerful: fear. For centuries, it had symbolized the absolute power of the crown. When the gates fell, the world felt it. The people had torn down a symbol of tyranny with their own hands. The impossible had become real. Across France, the old order collapsed. Privileges were stripped away. Titles lost their meaning. The revolution declared that all men were citizens, equal before the law. France was no longer the king's possession. It belonged to the people. And then the revolution turned on itself. Fear replaced hope. Suspicion ruled the streets. Enemies were everywhere, or so it seemed. The guillotine rose in public squares, swift and merciless. Thousands were executed in the name of the revolution, including the king himself. When Louis XVI was led to the blade, silence fell. A king chosen by God had died at the hands of his people. There was no turning back. Europe watched in terror. If kings could fall in France, they could fall anywhere. From the chaos emerged new forces, new leaders, and new wars. Empires would rise and fall in the revolution's wake. Borders would be redrawn. Power would never again rest easily on inherited crowns. The French Revolution did not promise peace. It promised change. It proved that ideas could overthrow armies, that ordinary people could reshape history, and that once power was claimed by the people, it could never be completely taken away again. The age of kings was ending. The age of citizens had begun.